I'm going to go ahead and apologize for this video's vlog being done in a voiceover form. I felt weird talking to a camera as I was in a museum, and I felt weird recording in general, but I had gone for the first time since I had been in middle school to just draw and be able to look at the art and try to re-find that side of myself that I've seemed to have lost since high school. This person in particular, I drew his face because it looked Muppet-ish. But yeah, here was a painting that I really liked the form of. Here's my little sketch. And here's a sketch I did of this city painting that I actually really liked. This one, I really liked the color and the blocking, and then when I looked at it and it was called Shapes on the Roof, I was like, ah, yes, that's perfect. This one, I liked how looming the building was compared to how small the people were. Here's me being awkward because I'd been sitting on the floor and hadn't been able to film because I'm awkward and people were watching. Here is a piece that I actually really liked. It's kind of abstract-ish, but it still shows you what it is, but in my version, I made it completely abstract. While I was at the museum, I found myself actually deconstructing art in my head and figuring out why I liked it. With this piece, it was the shading of it all, even though it was very, oh, there's 3 colors here. Here's another awkward shot of me drawing. And here's a piece that I really liked color-wise because it looked kind of bland, but it also stood out in a way, which was weird. Anyways, I drew a chicken based on this painting. Boom, chickens. Always love some good chickens. And yeah. After I was done with this room, I moved on to the next one. The next one's the one you just saw, and the one I was in is the one behind you. But yeah, I really liked this piece, but it was pretty simple, so I decided to go for this one with my next inspired sketch. So I literally sat down on the floor and started sketching. I'd been sitting down on the floor without any problems about feeling weird about it because I'm wearing headphones, so that gives me like a different level of confidence. But when the guard walked by this time, I was like, yeah, it's actually really comfy on this floor. So next, I drew this based on this piece. If you look closely, it kind of looks like it's a street view, so that was something I liked. This hand I really liked because it was so weird and I just wanted to recreate it. And this one is very bustling, which was like so cool to look at. This is the close-up of reflections of people's outfits on the water, which I absolutely loved and deconstructed here. And then here is a piece of lightning and trees that are kind of similar in the way that they look, and this was an interesting perspective that I did a little sketch of. This piece is very exciting to me because I kept seeing it on everyone's Google reviews because apparently it's like a newer piece and it definitely wasn't here when I was a kid, so I was very excited to see this in person. After I was done in the temporary part of the museum, I headed to the permanent exhibit and found myself not drawing but just admiring how the world looks through art. Art can be nothing but colors we find pretty and put in an interesting pattern. It can be nothing that looks like something. You can see faces or boats at a port. Art can tell a whole story in just one simple shot, which is really hard to do. Trust me, I'm a writer. I know how hard stories are. Art can be even parts of stories using only still lifes. This painting here is my favorite example of that. In the pieces of the museum, I saw pieces that reminded me of who I am, or of who I was. There were paintings that reminded me of old friends. There was even a couple of paintings that reminded me of just girlhood, childhood. I saw my family in a pig dish that reminded me of all of the pig pieces I have made for my mom. It's a thing, our last name's Ham. Oh, and there was this plate that reminded me of my Spanish teacher because she has a lot of cats and she really likes collecting cat artwork. There were pieces of historical stories that made me feel new things because of how the artist had painted them. There was even fresh looks at the story that pictured it completely different than the way I pictured it in my head, but made me feel the same things I typically feel. There were pieces that were so complex it made me wonder if the artist was trying to fill with time in art class like I used to do, or if that was just how detailed they were with their artwork. I've been finding art hard lately, so looking at these complex pieces and detailed stories and just paintings bursting at the seams with imagery, it just felt like, wow, there is something I am missing here when it comes to my art, and something I would like to one day find. There were pieces that were lucid and made me feel sane for the weird pieces that I had, and there were pieces with familiar faces. There were pieces that remind me of Coraline, and a whole row of silver and perfect lighting that made me realize why people in the old Southern days must have been so stubborn to get that stuff polished every week, even though that sounds tedious. There were pictures brimming with life and full of people. There was even this one painting that specifically made me think about a memory that I had forgotten about. There were abstracts that made me want to strive to be more detailed with what I'm doing with my abstracts when I'm painting my own. There were nature scenes that made me wish I was better at realism so that I could paint beautiful, breathtaking scenes like this. Heck, there were even paintings that made me wish I could just witness places like this. There were paintings of mundane things. There was paintings that didn't seem to be anything but reminded me of specific things nonetheless. There was paintings telling snippets of stories at a time. There were paintings that showed you exactly who their characters were. There were paintings that reminded me of the feeling of just summer during senior year. There were paintings that captured styles of eras. Heck, there was even a dress that just captured an entire era that I just loved. There was paintings that reminded me of old secrets and stories I had heard. There was paintings that didn't seem that complex, but when you stood next to them, you felt tiny of how large and looming they peered over you. But I'm not sure why this vlog has turned into me just ranting about art. Yeah, they had a nice outdoor area, but it was freezing cold, so I did not do that. I just headed straight to the gift shop. I got 3 things. There was a bunch of things I couldn't find a way to shove into my rant, so they're going to be playing over the end credits. But I'm posting this video today because today is the 75-year anniversary of the Georgia Museum of Art, and I wanted to do a little video about why I like it here and the fact that I actually got up the courage to do something for myself and go have fun by myself for once outside of my house. Anyways, this entire art museum is free and breathtaking and amazing, so please, if you are in the area or if you come visit the area, please, please, please go check it out. And who knows, maybe you'll find me on the floor.